Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
And away we go yet again. Larry Smith here. Glad you're with us. Good show coming up here. We've got, who do we have coming up here? A couple of, producer Tony talking Denver Broncos, actually, with Parker Gabriel. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes. He'll be our first guest. And then later, going to go on the ice and talk a little Bruins with Mark Allred of Black and Gold Productions. That's coming up. Hey, if today's your birthday, happy birthday. Some other birthdays in the sporting world. Antonio Brown is 38 years old. Urban Meyer turns 62 today. Roger Craig, the football player, 49ers fame, not the baseball manager guy. Roger Craig, 66 today. Andre Dawson, the slugger, the Hall of Famer, he's 72. If you have a birthday today, you also share it with Adam Petty, the race car driver, gone too soon, born on this day in 1980. And Jake LaMotta, the boxer. If you ever have seen or heard of the movie Raging Bull, he was immortalized in that movie. Jake LaMotta was born on this day back in 1922. So there you have it with that. Hey, let's get to a couple of stories right now. I think we have a guess that one Major League Baseball player might be listening to our show, at least based on last night's baseball results. And we talked on Wednesday about how Zach Wheeler got left off the National League All-Star team in favor of fellow Philly starter Jesus Luzardo. And producer Tony pointed out that he just couldn't understand that decision, right? I mean, well, Luzardo may have been listening. Luzardo last night pitched 7 strong, allowing only 2 hits, striking out 11 Reds. Philly won a 1-0 pitcher's duel. Luzardo, now 8-4 in the season, named to his first All-Star game as an injury replacement on Tuesday and continued his dominance on the road. The left-hander, get this, 6-0, 1.38 earned run average this season in 11 starts away from Philadelphia. He struck out the side in the 3rd and 6th innings as he had his 4th outing with double-digit strikeouts. We talked about Wheeler. He deserves it, but Luzardo certainly showing he does too. Elsewhere around the bigs, the Marlins continue to be the hottest thing around. Otto Lopez hitting a 2-run triple to back a strong 5-inning outing by Jansen Junk, and the Marlins beating Seattle 8-4 Thursday night to extend their winning streak to 6. Griffin Canine homered to help Miami complete a 3-game sweep. Marlins 52-42, 10 games above 500 for the first time since completing a 3-game sweep of the Nationals back in June of 2023. Over in the American League, the Red Sox also stayed hot. Caleb Durbin hitting a 2-run homer to help the surging Boston Red Sox top the White Sox 2-1. That's their 6th consecutive victory. Boston finished with just 4 hits, but Patrick Sandoval and 4 relievers shut down Chicago while finishing a sweep of the 3-game series. The Red Sox improving to 11-2 in their last 13 games. They've outscored their opponents 35-10 during that streak. Boston's bullpen surrendering 1 run and 4 hits in 9 2/3 innings in this series. Brave star Matt Olson had a big day as they beat the Pirates 10-5. Olson tied a record that was held by Braves fan favorite Dale Murphy, playing in his 740th consecutive game. That ties Murphy for most consecutive games played by a Brave. Olson also blasted his 25th homer of the season in the 1st inning as well. Some action also on the hardwood. Summer League in Vegas getting going for the NBA. This year's number 1 pick, A.J. DeBonsa, made his debut for the Wizards against the number 2 pick, Darren Peterson of Utah. DeBonsa and Peterson, they missed some shots they're accustomed to making and went a combined 2 for 12 from 3, but still had a duel that did not disappoint. DeBonsa leading all scorers with 27 points, 7 rebounds in 26 minutes to power Washington to the 92-88 win. He hit just 7 of 18 shots, but missed all 5 of his 3-point attempts, also 2 assists. Peterson also very good on the night, 6 of 18 for the game, but missed 5 of 7 of 3 while committing 8 turnovers. Still had 24 points for the Jazz. Time now for today's moment of awe. It's Major League Baseball All-Star time. The game's best players will be converging on Philadelphia next Tuesday to pit the American League versus the National League in the annual Midsummer Classic. Now, we've talked before on our daily Sports IQ show about the history of the game going back to 1933 in Chicago, and we'll delve deeper into that on Monday. Some fun stuff to talk about. But it's the 1934 game that gets our attention. The lineups were so dominating and so legendary that all but one starter from that game ended up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. No performance was greater than that of Carl Hubbell. There in the Polo Grounds, the New York Giants pitcher striking out get this, in succession, he whipped Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin to set an all-star record for consecutive strikeouts that stands to this day. Carl Hubbell, unprecedented dominance on this day, July 10th, 1934, and that gets our moment of awe.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Okay, Sports IQ with Larry Smith continues right now. Producer Tony is with our first guest.
Well, thanks, Larry. And, NFL season's getting closer and closer. Camps are going to be opening up in a couple weeks. Now everybody will be getting ready for the upcoming 2026 season. And one of the surprise teams last year was the Denver Broncos. We're lucky enough to have Parker joining us today. He's the Denver Broncos beat writer for the Denver Post. How you doing, Parker?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. We're going to chat a little bit about the Broncos here. It was an excellent season last year. Fell a little short. Didn't quite get to the ultimate goal, but injuries played a little bit role in that, with the ankle injury to Bo Nix. How is Bo feeling as things are getting ready? I know they've gone through some OTAs and all that, and everything seemed to be fine. Is that the feeling around Denver at this point?
Yeah, the messaging all along, well, not all along, but since May has been that he'll be all ready for training camp, fully cleared. We saw him on the field a little bit during the mini camp in the middle of June. Didn't see him open it up, run full speed, or do any sort of I hesitate to even call it team. I mean, they're not in pads. They just have helmets on. But didn't see him do any 11-on-11 stuff during that. But obviously, you've got more than a month between when they wrapped up minicamp and when training camp starts. And so the expectation is that after 2 operations and basically a spring and early summer full of rehab, that Bo Nix will be ready to go here at the end of July.
Yeah, that would seem to be about the right, time length for him. No reason to waste anything in a mini camp in June. We can just take it easy for a few more weeks before things go all out. Looking at this Denver team, the offense was kind of hit and miss a little bit, but they've brought in a nice piece, which should be able to kind of hopefully even that out a little bit and make this offense a little bit more explosive.
Yeah, definitely with Jaylen Waddle. I mean, they traded an arm and a leg to get him a first round and basically a fourth rounder. There's some pick swapping in there, but yeah, they paid a steep price for him. But the thing about the Broncos, and this is what happens when you get good and when you have a deep roster, is that marginal improvement becomes more difficult. And so they were never going to probably go into free agency and just sign a bunch of guys. They brought a bunch of their guys back. But they needed sort of one thing offensively, and that's a true explosive playmaker. Courtland Sutton's a good player. J.K. Dobbins, when he's healthy, is a good player. They've got some young receivers that they like, but they didn't have the guy that, defensive coordinators would go, oh, man, what do we do with this? And he's also a player that Sean Payton has thrived with, his style of player in the past. You think about the Brandon Cooks years, the sort of height of that in New Orleans. And so you're going to get a lot of that. And I think obviously everyone's interested to see the guy go, 75 yards to the house or whatever. But I actually think a lot of what he'll do and a lot of the benefit that you'll see from him sort of week in and week out is just to sort of get the chains moving and keep them moving, which once they got going, they were good last year offensively, but they also were near the top of the league in 3-and-out rate and punting and all of that. And so they've just got to be, they've got to be more explosive, but they also, I think the underrated thing is they have to just be more consistent in moving the ball offensively.
They last year were one of those teams that if you were a Broncos fan, you had to have your blood pressure medication with you at all times. I mean, look, Bo Nix led, was it 7?
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, end of game drives that won ball games for him. That's hard to do 2 years in a row. It'd be nice from a fan's perspective, especially, and I'm sure from Sean Payton's perspective over there on the sideline, so that the hair doesn't get any grayer, to be able to say, okay, can we end this a little bit before the final 30 seconds of a ball game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we know this, right? One score, teams that are really good in one-score games one year, there's no guarantee whatsoever that happens next year. In fact, usually you can expect some regression toward something like average on that. Now, obviously, if you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Josh Allen, like you feel better about being in those kind of games down the stretch. And, the Broncos survived like in the playoffs, right? Like they survived giving the ball to Josh Allen in overtime because of the incredible play that Jaquan McMillan made. But you can't expect to, face the lineup of quarterbacks that teams in the AFC have to face throughout a season and say like, oh, whatever, if it's a 3-point game late, that's fine. We'll figure out a way to win 85% of those. So yeah, I mean, the key there, and especially like when you've got a defense that's as accomplished as Denver's is and should be, near the top of the league again this fall, like there's no reason why some of those games that are, 3 points, 4 points, whatever, like figure out a way to win it by 9. If you get in the end zone one more time, if you're a little bit more consistent offensively, you control the time of possession a little bit more. You've got a defense that's capable of closing teams out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, there were some really exciting games last year. It was like you said, you don't want to make a living on that, right? You kind of like to solve that issue just a little bit earlier going in. And last year was kind of the point where Denver was the team doing the hunting. They were hunting the Kansas City Chiefs because the Chiefs had been the gold standard in that division in the AFC for so long. Now the Chiefs have taken a step back. Denver has taken that mantle along with now New England. Kind of a different mantra this year. Denver will now be the hunted as opposed to the hunter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at some of the, win totals and all of that coming out of Las Vegas, like a lot of them have the Broncos, third in terms of division odds and over under, slotting in behind both Kansas City and the Chargers. Some of that's just like the nature of playing a first place schedule. You've got, they play 10 playoff teams, 10, 20, 25 playoff teams, plus Kansas City twice, because obviously Kansas City didn't make it. So you're looking at like a much different reality from a schedule perspective for the Broncos this year. And at the same time, like, one of the things I think that you always feel, if you're Sean Payton or players or whatever, but I think especially coaches and front office people that have, that as much experience as Sean does under his belt, like you understand how rare it is to be in that spot where you've got the first round bye and you're playing at home throughout the playoffs. Like you could be really good. And your run, your route to the Super Bowl, maybe you get a division game at home, but maybe you've got to go on the road the entire time. I mean, that's the reality. And so part of what I think was so deflating, it always is if you lose in a championship game, but part of it for the Broncos last year was just that, like, man, it was the breakthrough season. It was the, hey, we're just arriving season, but it could realistically, like it could be the best chance you get. Just from the way it sets up schedule wise and where you finished wise, that you get point blank periods. So it certainly will not be easy to try to get back to that spot.
No, it's always tough when you're coming off, that championship run to try to get back there. Look, the Lions struggled. They got to the championship game and they haven't been able to get back there since. They've regressed just a little bit each year since then. But with Denver, I think the one thing that they have going for them is a coach with that kind of pedigree who's been there and done this. It took a little bit of time with New Orleans to get over the top. Yep. They were in the playoffs for a number of years before they made that leap, made it to the Super Bowl, and won the thing. Having somebody like a Sean Payton on that sideline has got to be reassuring when you cover a team like this. And he's also got to be reassuring for the players playing under him because he carries himself in such a way that, you expect the best coming out of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think obviously like most people, when they think about Sean Payton, I think they go to the play calling element of it first and the sort of like offensive mastermind and all of that. But having now, this will be my fourth year covering him, his fourth year in Denver, my fourth year covering him. And I think that, up there with that ability, or maybe even, beyond that ability now, perhaps his foremost strength as a coach is on the motivation front. I mean, he just always has, like, his teams are almost always ready to play, but more than that, he's always got a way to sort of impart to them about what the challenge is or what the route to winning a game is or what the route to a successful season looks like. And it's time tested. It works. And so that's where, like, it's hard to start over. It's hard to get over the bitter pill of having your quarterback break his ankle and maybe having it cost you a trip to the Super Bowl, it's hard to, show back up and with 94% of your snaps from the year before returning and think about it as a new season rather than like, hey, we're already really good and we're bound for the playoffs by destiny. Like those things, he's an expert. He's the master sort of at getting all of that out of your system and saying like, it's July 29th, man. Like we have done nothing. It's a blank slate. And if we don't, work our butts off here and work harder than everybody else during training camp, like we're not guaranteed anything. And so that's easy to say. It's hard to do. And so far, we'll see, obviously they haven't done anything this year, but so far, one of the things that he's been best at is having sort of a pulse of his team and understanding what it's going to take to get them prepared for whatever is ahead.
Can we expect to see any difference in the offense? I know a lot of the play calling comes from Sean himself, but we got Davis Webb now on board as the offensive coordinator for the team. Is there going to be any difference that fans might see on the field of how this Denver Broncos team attacks other teams?
Yeah, I think so. I think every play caller will have his hallmark. Like what exactly that is with Davis Webb, I don't think we know that yet. But Sean, there's things about it's Sean Payton's, playbook still by and large. That's what Davis Webb told us this summer. Certainly there'll be some wrinkles. Certainly like Davis has had an influence on, sort of like what Sean Payton has had in game plans the last 3 years. Certainly like he's got his finger on what Bo Nix likes. Like, and that's really like the key thing is, yeah, the play caller changes, but the quarterback doesn't. And Sean is, he likes what he likes, but he's also smart enough to know that, the concentric circles of like what Sean Payton loves and what Bo Nix loves probably don't overlap quite as much as like it did with Sean and Drew Brees. So you've got this, like, it's always about putting a plan together for the quarterback. Now, obviously Davis Webb has a lot of experience in the air raid stuff. Like he's played and coached in a lot of different systems at this point. So he'll have his own wrinkles. I don't know this. We'll see when games start, but Sean's always been kind of like a smorgasbord run game guy. Like it's a little bit of a lot of different stuff and he doesn't like repeat stuff. Like it's like, let's throw 15 concepts on 18 carries against the wall in the first half and then try to figure out something like what works for the second half. Maybe Davis Webb will be like that. I would doubt it. I think maybe he'll be a little bit more, what are the 2 or 3 things we can hang our hat on? Like what those things are, I don't know. I would guess outside zone. Like they worked on that a lot more than in previous years last year, and they just never really tried to hang their hat on it. Are they going to be like a Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur? Is it going to look exactly like that? I don't know. I don't think so necessarily, but I think you might see more of that than in years past. Complete guess. Like, I think part of the, like, they're not doing joint practices this year. I think they'll be really vanilla in the preseason. Like they're saying all of this is because of the playoff run last year. I hesitate. I buy that, but I also think some of it's because they've got a new play caller and they're going to try to press the surprise advantage as much as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that. We've got about a minute and a half left here, Parker. The defense was stellar last year. Yeah. Is there anything they can do to take another step forward, or is it just going to be enough to say, guys, look, just do what you did last year? That was beyond good enough last year. Just repeat that performance.
Pretty much, but they only took the ball away. They were tied for 29th in takeaways. I think they only took the ball away 12 times last year. And then they went on a binge in the postseason, and it's really the only reason they beat Buffalo is because they forced 5 takeaways. So they know the importance of that. Vance Joseph knows the importance of that. Part of the reason they don't take the ball away a ton is because they play more man coverage than anybody. And so, Vance this summer said, I think you can still generate pressure, but maybe have more eyes on the quarterback. That's, I don't think they're going to all of a sudden, play 60%, 70% zone or anything like that. But the one qualm, like in 63 sacks and being near the top of the league in total and scoring defense, is they didn't take the ball away much. So if they disrupt quarterbacks like they have the last 2 years and they take the ball away more, they're going to be awfully hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that defense just was scary. And I remember the old days of the old Orange Crush defense back in the late 70s with Lyle Alzado and those guys. So this defense was every bit as good as that and every bit as scary to play. Parker Gabriel, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insights here on the Broncos. We'll be calling you again as we get closer to the season. Hopefully you'll have some time and want to come back and talk to our listeners again.
Yeah, you bet. Anytime.
Parker Gabriel joining us. He is the Denver Broncos beat writer for the Denver Post. Give him a shout out online because, all newspapers now are online. You can get them anywhere. You don't have to be in Denver anymore just to read somebody's columns. You can read them online all the time. We appreciate his time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Sports IQ, but we'll be back with more right after this.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices on airline tickets are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts with over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. The only way to learn more is make a free call. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next trip. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next trip.
Welcome back here. Let's talk a little World Cup. There's only one match on Thursday, and that being in Massachusetts. France's Kylian Mbappe had a goal and an assist after missing a first-half penalty kick. Ousmane Dembele scored the other goal. France over Morocco 2-0 in the World Cup quarterfinals. French will face either Spain or Belgium in the semis in Dallas on Tuesday. Spain and Belgium, they will face off tonight at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Mbappe's goal in the 60th minute was the 20th of his World Cup career, moves him one behind Argentina captain Lionel Messi. Dembele scored his fifth goal of the tournament, that coming in the 66th minute. College basketball front, meanwhile, you would think all would be quiet, seeing how it's in the middle of summer, but how wrong you would be. Boy, prize international wing Nicola Costa Rica committing to UCLA on Thursday, and this is according to CBS Sports. So Mick Cronin, the head coach out there, just a massive talent influx at a huge position of need after losing Baylor transfer Tunde Yesufu to St. John's last month. Costa Rica, by the way, 6'8" wing, just dropped 37 points on Team USA in Sunday's championship game of the FIBA Under-17 World Cup. The Serbian native just turned 17 in April. That means he'll have 2 years to play college ball before being eligible for the 2028 NBA draft. In fact, with that in mind, UCLA inking him to a multi-year deal to beat out the likes of current NCAA champion Michigan and blue blood Kentucky for the star wing. He'll be one of the youngest players in college basketball next season, alongside Duke incoming phenom Joaquin Bunche, who also just turned 17 in May and also won't be eligible, or in other words, won't turn 19 for the NBA draft until 2028. So again, some very, very young talent coming in. Bunche deposited 20 points, 15 rebounds, 4 trays, 3 blocks to lead Team USA to that 107-81 rout in the head-to-head matchup against that Serbian team and now the young UCLA star. Texas also getting boosts on Thursday, nabbing a brand new 5-star to the trophy case. 5-star forward Marcus Spears Jr. committing to the Longhorns and will reclassify to play college basketball this upcoming season. He announced that on social media on Thursday. Spears is a 6'9" power forward out of Dallas. He was a top-ranked recruit in the 2027 recruiting cycle by 24/7 Sports, committing to Texas over Arizona, Arkansas, and LSU. LSU, he's too young for LSU, right? I mean, Will Wade wants guys that are like, 25, 26 years old. Still have eligibility. But I digress. Spears will check in as the number 8 overall ranked prospect in the 2026 class, as according to CBS Sports Director of Scouting, Adam Finkelstein. Spears also will have 2 years of college basketball due to age issues before heading to the NBA. could this be something we're going to see now kids do? Maybe, again, you get a chance to get those college dollars, NIL. So just like we've seen college players leave early for the NBA to get that paycheck, are we seeing top high school players go to college early to get that NIL paycheck? I mean, it seems like this is a pattern now. We'll keep watching it. No question, with Spears coming in and the other guys, this is a rather heralded group of players in Texas basketball history that Spears is joining, the likes of Kevin Durant, Mohamed Bamba, Trey Johnson, Dylan Mitchell, and now he's the latest superstar in Longhorns history. In the W last night, Kelsey Mitchell hitting a layup with 10.1 seconds left to finish with 29 points. Indiana Fever holding on for the 92-89 win over Phoenix. The teams put 2 testy games in Indy last month. They played them, put those things behind them, trading baskets instead of bumps and barbs. Mitchell putting Indiana up 90-89 with her layup, and Sophie Cunningham added 2 free throws to secure the win with Caitlin Clark on the bench in street clothes. Indiana now 13-9 of the season. Aaliyah Boston, 21 points after being held out of a 106-92 loss to the Sparks on Wednesday night. All right, stay with us. Let's talk a little ice coming up next. Talk a little heist, little hockey right now, a little ice. Or you can combine them and say talk some heist. Hockey, ice. Mark Allred joining us right now. What a way to introduce yourself. Mark Allred, he is the founder and CEO of Black and Gold Productions. We're talking some Boston Bruins here today. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Larry. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. Listen, let's talk Bruins. They overachieved last season, snuck into the playoffs. Can they pull off that kind of thing 2 years in a row?
I mean, you got to give credit to how new head coach Mark Allred came into his first season as a Boston Bruins, bench boss, and the response that he got out of players that us in media on July 1st a year ago didn't really see where the path was going with this team. The identity was there, obviously, to be a little bit tougher and a harder out, but Sturm got the best out of what he was dealt. And I think in year 2, and particularly this offseason, I think that Sturm and his staff, I think it's McIlvain that's coming on as an assistant coach, is just going to get a bigger jump out of a roster that really didn't they got a little bit lateral this year. Acquiring JJ Peterka for 2 picks, that's just good business. We need, the Boston Bruins needed the scoring, no doubt, but they also needed defense, and it's kind of weird on how they address that and the scoring. And I'm hearing that things are not done in Boston. It could be another big move coming soon.
Boston last year really got breakout seasons from 3 big guys: Morgan Geekie, Fraser Minton, also Marat Kuznetsov. I'm not sure I'm saying it correctly, and I apologize. Can those 3 push things even higher this coming year?
Yeah, I do believe so. Fraser Minton's upside is just tremendous, and it's one of the reasons why the Boston Bruins targeted him in the trade with Brandon Carlo to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They needed the center depth because the Bruins didn't really replace the efforts of Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci up the middle, and they sold off a lot of draft capital to address we need to win now for those guys. Now those guys are gone, and now the Boston Bruins are trying to replenish that prospect pool. But having Fraser Minton involved in that is also good business. Because they identified what they needed and they went out and targeted it. They could have gotten I think his name is Austin Cowan, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I think one of the higher prospects. But I like the way that the scouting staff of the Boston Bruins, got involved and said we really need this guy for our center growth.
Mm-hmm. When you look at the Bruins draft here over the last decade. Well, not been good. They got Jeremy Swayman back in 2017. 2016 was Charlie McAvoy. have not drafted a top flight wing really since David Pasternak back in 2014. How does this latest class look? And shouldn't the Bruins have been drafting better in this time?
To be honest with you, Larry, a lot of Bruins fans and media were thinking that the team was going to address the need for a right shot defenseman. There's nothing in the depth right now down in Providence. There's some depth players can crack the roster like Frederick Brunet and so on, but we just need that legitimate right shot defenseman. It just seems elusive in the league with just a thin market these days. And we all thought that's what they were going to do is on the second round this year was try to identify that with what's available. I had some good right shot defensemen targeted in this area, and they went goaltender. They took Yuri Ivanov in the second round, and they actually picked two goaltenders, which I predicted not too long ago that the Boston Bruins may need to do something like this because of what's going to happen with Jeremy Swayman in 5 years. So they took a big swing on goaltending, which really knocked a lot of people back. But so did a lot of other teams. This particular draft was well over, I think it was 33 goaltenders were picked. And that was the most since, I believe, 2003. So there's something going on in the league right now where a lot of teams, not just the Boston Bruins, need to take swings and need to identify their goaltending depth. And I think with Ivanov and Roberto Henriquez, they did that. And I thought they were both great showings in development camp. For my first eye test at the Warrior Ice Arena, where the Boston Bruins train and do their on ice practices and so on. So, this draft, it wasn't really great for the Bruins, but it wasn't that bad. I really wish they did address the right shot defenseman, but I like what they got in the forwards. I like what they got in the goaltending, and the forwards in particular. These guys are lethal shots. The foot speed and the skills, that can all be worked on in development when you get to the pro level. And obviously when they go back to overseas for their regular seasons, which is going to start up in like September. But I like what they addressed the need for elite shooting. And that's what I got out of this draft. So if you were asking me a grade on this draft, I would say a high C.
Okay. Could be better, but not terrible is what you're saying. So let's talk with Mark Allred, talking Boston Bruins. Again, he's the founder and CEO of Black and Gold Productions. You were talking about the goaltending, and it's funny how teams, it's kind of cyclical, right? Like we notice, like right now in football, running backs are back in vogue again after being ignored for the past 5, 6, 7 years or so. And so, like you said, a run on goaltenders. We talked about Jeremy Swayman. Is he a player who can lead the Bruins to a championship?
I believe so. And this guy is a cornerstone and a product of what the Boston Bruins have been doing really well lately. And that's drafting and developing goaltenders, no matter where they get them. If you're above 6 feet tall, believe it or not, you're going to have major success under the skillful eye of Mike Dunham, which is the goaltending development coach, and goalie Bob Essenza, former NHLer. Both goaltenders played in the league. They know what they're doing. They adjust to the times, which I think is really good in these days. Players are getting younger, quicker, faster, and how you teach that needs to be adjusted as well. And I think that these two have a keen eye on developing. They've done really good with Jeremy Swayman. I mean, Jeremy Swayman was a University of Maine goaltender. So was Mike Dunham. Mike Dunham was the same thing. So they have a relationship there and so on. I think Mike Dunham is grossly underrated throughout the league on how he takes a player and just molds them into what they've become. And unfortunately, Bruins goaltenders, they don't get a chance to see a lot of the NHL because of, they're contracted and their lengths and terms and so on. So the pipeline's been kind of blocked, but not anymore because Unico Pasalo got traded to the New York Rangers. Now this naturally paves the way for goaltender Michael DiPietro to come in and finally get a shot at the NHL. He's got 6 NHL games under his belt, so it's It's really hard to adjust and see where he's going to go with his game. But the 2-time American Hockey League goaltender of the year, you got to give him the opportunity. And to be honest with you, I was really surprised that they got good value back on a trade for Korpisalo, who they've been wanting to move for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the pipeline, and let's kind of go there. What other players are there in the pipeline who maybe can help this team this upcoming season?
I don't believe anybody will crack the NHL this upcoming year. I think it's just going to be Jeremy Swayman is going to get a bulk of the starts. Michael DiPietro, I think, is going to win the backup job out of camp. But DiPietro's got competition too. The Boston Bruins are trendy on your spot is not secure. We will find somebody, a veteran, to come in and create a little bit of competitive atmosphere per se. And that's why they brought in Yuri Patera. I'm not sure exactly where he came from. Oh, wait a minute. I got my notes right here. It was a trade with Utah. So they got him. So, I mean, he's in his 30s. So he's naturally going to be the guy that's going to push DiPietro. Down in Providence, it's going to be Simon Zajac, which was another fantastic find from the Boston Bruins scouting staff. I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything like that, but a lot of people did not see this signing coming. He did not have great numbers overseas, but once he got into the American Hockey League, his rookie season was phenomenal. So they're going to take a chance on him. They re-signed him for another year. They do have Hockey East champion in the NCAA, Max Lundgren in the fold on a 1-year entry-level deal. So he could be with Providence or Maine. Let me see. Luke Cavalin is back with the Providence Bruins, and I believe he's going to probably play in either Providence or Maine. But there's really and if you look down at the depth in the NCAA, Philip Spederbeck, who's been playing the last 4 years for Providence College, it hasn't been signed. The August 15th deadline is coming up when he becomes a free agent. So I don't think he's signing. So I think that the timing of these two goaltenders coming in, and it's not just because the league went nuts on goaltenders this year. I just think that the timing to replenish this position was imperative for the Boston Bruins moving forward, and such a good groove that they have on developing goaltenders, regardless of the movement to the NHL, because of, DiPietro got Brandon Bussey. Let's talk about Brandon Bussey, Stanley Cup champion. He got bumped. All right, let's rewind it back. All right. So Brandon Bussey was under a kind of like a handshake deal. The backup role is yours next season, or you're going to really have a really good chance to earn it. And I think those feelings were good moving forward, that he was going to get his first NHL games. But then the business side of hockey came through. They needed to trade a goaltender. It was Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman, and both of them at the end of the season were like, we want more games. We want starting this and that. It wasn't going to work out. You can't pay $16 million in the league for two goaltenders. One had to go. So to get back into the first round, Don Sweeney was squeezed into taking Joonas Korpisalo from the Ottawa Senators at a retained 25%. That knocked out the natural progression of Brandon Bussey out of the fold, because I don't think that they wanted to bury Korpisalo in the American Hockey League, or not want to get it in the first round. So they got Dean Letourneau, who did not have a good first year at Boston College, 3 assists in the NCAA freshman year, had an explosive 22-goal season this year. He looks great, and the trade just seems to be paying off. But by getting Korpisalo in, they had to move on from somebody, and it was clear that they were more invested into Michael DiPietro, who was having the better year. And obviously, Bussy moves on, signs with the Florida Panthers, gets waived by them, and then becomes the third goaltender in Carolina. So if that trade didn't happen, I think Bussy would have been with Boston and Swayman's backup.
Yeah, I got about a minute left here. I want to get in really quickly. Do you feel the Bruins have enough scoring to compete in the East? I mean, Florida's going to be back and better. Carolina, of course, is the Cup champion. Philly is on the up. The East is really tough right now.
Yeah, and it's just going to get better, especially in the Atlantic Division. Teams are just getting up. Montreal is getting better. Toronto's going to probably be better. The Bruins have their work cut out for them. I don't think that they're done. I think that scoring is a huge issue. There's word around the streets that they want to get another elite scorer. I'm thinking they should go out and get defense, but it is what it is. If they want to address one, I'm not going to be hurt by it. But getting JJ Peterka is a good start for this organization when you're addressing goal scoring, particularly 5-on-5. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Mark, great to meet you. Great to have you on the show. Have a fantastic weekend. We appreciate your insights, and hopefully we can get you back on the show again soon to talk a little more Bruins once we get closer to the season.
Thank you very much, Larry. Take care, and I definitely would love to come back.
All right, we'll definitely have you on. Appreciate you. Good talking heist with you. Mark Allred, founder and CEO of Black and Gold Productions, giving us the skinny right now in this offseason for these Boston Bruins. Stay with us. Much more to come here on the show.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage is only $75 per month, level for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can buy $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify.
Call 855-826-7932. 855-826-7932. That's 855-826-7932.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free. Call 855-227-0286. That's 855-227-0286. Call us right now.
Hey, I want to get in one more shout out from the WNBA to Cheryl Reeve as she becomes the all-time leader in regular season wins. She got the number 380 the other night. It was previously held by former Phoenix and Washington coach Mike Thibault. So Cheryl Reeve, again, already the 4 league championships. We talked a few days ago that she's going for a record 5th this season with the Lynx and how well they're playing. But again, she gets win number 380, and congratulations for her. Hey, producer Tony, speaking of coaches, we had this segment earlier, great conversations you had earlier talking with Parker about the Denver Broncos. You ran across something that was really interesting involving Coach Sean Payton.
Yeah, I read it online this morning very early, and I thought it was a really interesting story. There was a time when, they had an embedded reporter with the Broncos, and he talked to Sean Payton, and Sean was actually had gone to the Broncos management and said, can we possibly offer this head coaching job to Bill Belichick? Belichick was Sean Payton's friend. They both started out with the New York Giants before going their separate ways. Belichick went to the Saints, or Belichick went to the Pats. Payton went to the Saints. Both became excellent head coaches. We all know about Belichick's, past, how great he was with all the Super Bowl rings that he won up there in New England. Well, he wanted to bring Belichick back into the coaching after he got, released, basically, decided to walk away from New England, and because he wanted to help him get that all-time win record. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. The reporter kind of figured out it would have been, Peyton's first season and then last season where they probably would have done this. And if he had, Belichick would have beaten the record. He would have set the new mark if he was the head coach of the Broncos based on the Broncos' win-losses for the last 2 seasons. Last year, against the Giants in New York, where he started his career with Bill Parcells. And then it would have been interesting because obviously Denver made the AFC Championship game, and it would have been Belichick on the sideline against the Patriots in that AFC Championship game. And who wouldn't have paid to see that happen?
Yeah. How crazy is that? And again, like you said, 2 guys who've had, I don't know Sean Payton's there yet, but should be in the Hall of Fame one day. He's somebody approaching on his own 200 wins in a career. But how crazy would that be to have both those guys with the same franchise yet again?
Yeah, absolutely. Sean would have been the assistant head coach, been in charge of offense. Bill would have been the head coach in charge of defense, and it would have made for some interesting TV, to see that take place. But good for Sean for at least thinking of an old friend when he was given an opportunity to be Denver's head coach. That he might have been willing. That shows you a lot about he keeps his ego in check, because he would have been able to take a back seat if it had happened. It didn't, but it's always nice to think about what if.
Yeah, Sean, one of the all-time great guys. A few years older than me. When I was in high school, he was starring at Eastern Illinois University. I used to go watch him play back in college. He was very impressive. He was the man about campus. So he's one heck of awesome. Yeah, pretty cool. That's great for him. And again, like you said, look, we're all about egos, right? Especially on that level, and to put his ego aside for Bill Belichick speaks volumes, like you said, to his character. We talked also about the NBA Summer League getting started. Tony, I don't know about you, but I love how they have turned this into this massive tournament using 2 arenas at the same time. And it's just back and forth. It's been NBA TV primarily over the years with some ESPN. Now with the new contract situation, it's ESPN and Prime is where you can find these. But I love the fact that you get some name guys that you have seen, the top of the draft, DeBonces and we'll see Caleb Wilson's, Petersons, but you also see these guys that are on the other end that are really either just coming out of college, signing maybe some 2-way deals, or they're free agents looking for a home.
Yeah, and the basketball was pretty good. I was watching last night. The first game was the Warriors and the Mavs there on ESPN. So it had Yaxel Lendenborg going up against Merez Johnson, the 2 former Michigan players. And, Yaxel took it to him a couple times down low. Merez got a few points in there. He got some rebounds over Yaxel. It was really good back and forth. And they both seemed to enjoy it after the contest. They were kind of talking it up, yucking it up a little bit. So it was fun to see. And then the next game with Debanza playing against Peterson, and they both struggled a little bit early, which is to be expected. I bet you there was a lot of nerves, in those, the first time they've played against each other, knowing they're both, he's 1, he's 2, who got the better deal, all that kind of stuff. But it's just fun to see. And it gives you something, this time of year can get a little dull in the sports world. You've got baseball, which is every night, which is great, especially if you're a huge baseball fan, which I enjoy, but it also gets to be the same after a while. It's like, can I have something to break it up? This helps break up that and get you kind of, because they're going to go away by the end of this month, and we won't hear about the NBA really until they come back to camp in September.
Yeah. And I love the fact that it's so competitive. They made it into a tournament, right? So you're playing, not everyone plays everybody, but they have a system. They go through and play 3 or 4 games, and then they go into quarterfinals, semifinals, etc. And it's funny too to watch these guys. Like there were a lot of top rookies I thought who kind of struggled a bit in terms, like you said, some nerves, some jitters, kind of the first time out. But it's fun also to watch them. Usually you can see a comfort level really increase by the time they get to, the end of the tournament, if you will, and they've kind of had a few games under the belt. Hey, we've got another show under our belts, all finished here. Hopefully you have a great weekend. Thanks again to our guests stopping by. I appreciate Parker Gabriel, also Mark Allred, and appreciate you as always. Make this a fun weekend. We're back on Monday on the Sports IQ. We'll talk to you then.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.